All right, so we're diving into analog emulation plugins today.
Cool.
Seems like everyone's talking about them.
Yeah, they're
And we've got this great article here,
okay.
18 Best Analog Emulation Plugins. It's by Tyler Conahan.
Oh, yeah.
And he's got over a decade of experience producing music, so,
Wow.
he's got some serious...
He knows his stuff.
Yeah, he knows his stuff.
Yeah.
What I'm really interested in is
Yeah.
all these plugins, they're supposed to help us get that classic warmth and that character.
That analog.
Yeah, exactly. Into our digital productions, right?
Yeah, totally. It's like they bridge the gap between, digital convenience and that sort of almost intangible vibe you get from analog gear.
Exactly. And it's amazing how crucial these plugins have become.
Oh, yeah.
Especially now.
Especially
when anyone with a laptop can basically create music. Conahan really nails it when he talks about how accessible music production is these days.
For sure. It's a real democratizing force.
Yeah, but like he points out, not all plugins are created equal.
Totally. Right.
Yeah.
Some are definitely better than others.
That's where this deep dive comes in, right?
Yeah.
We're going to cut through all the hype and figure out which of these plugins actually deliver on their promises.
Let's do it.
So first up, Conahan has the Identified U78 Saturator.
Oh, okay.
And he calls it magical.
Interesting.
Yeah, he says it adds this warmth and cohesion to mixes.
I like it already.
So how does it achieve that magic? What's going on there?
Well, it's all about saturation, but it's not just about, just adding distortion.
Oh, okay.
It's introducing subtle harmonics that then create a richer, more complex sound. It's like adding a layer of sonic texture.
Okay.
Just breathes life into a track.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And Conahan specifically highlights this calibration knob on the U78.
Okay. So it's all about finding that sweet spot, right?
Exactly. You're dialing in the precise amount of warmth or grit.
Whether you're, adding subtle harmonic richness to vocals or really pushing a drum track into overdrive.
Okay, I like it. So next on Conahan's list, we have soft tube tape.
Tape? Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I've been meaning to get a better handle on this whole tape saturation thing.
Yeah, it's a classic.
Especially because so many of the classic records we love were recorded using tape.
Right.
Back in the day.
So what is it about tape that makes it so special?
Well, tape saturation is a really complex process. It involves subtle compression, harmonic distortion, and even the way the magnetic tape interacts with the recording heads.
Wow.
All these factors contribute to that sought-after warmth and cohesiveness.
Interesting. So it's like all those imperfections actually kind of add to the sound.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's cool. Conahan mentions that soft tube tape is actually used by Grammy-winning engineers.
Wow, really?
So that says something about its quality.
Yeah, for sure.
He seems particularly enthusiastic about using it for parallel processing on drums and bass.
Okay.
Is that something that works well with other plugins too? Oh yeah, parallel processing is a powerful technique, especially with effects that have a strong sonic character.
Okay.
Like tape saturation. By blending a heavily processed signal with a clean one, you can add that warmth and depth without losing clarity.
So you're kind of like combining the best of both worlds there.
Exactly. It's a great way to add a bit of that analog glue to your mixes.
I like that analog glue.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to a classic piece of gear.
Okay, let's hear it.
Conahan highlights the Black Rooster Audio VLA2A.
Ah, a classic.
Which is an emulation of the legendary LA2A compressor.
Nice.
Now, I know the LA2A is famous for its smooth compression.
Yeah, it's super smooth.
What is it about this particular compressor that makes it so revered?
Well, the LA2A is known for its optical compression, which relies on a light source and a photocell to control gain reduction.
Interesting.
This gives it a unique program-dependent response.
Okay.
So basically, it reacts differently depending on the incoming audio signal.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and that results in a very natural and musical compression.
Okay, very cool. And Conahan mentions that Black Rooster Audio, they went to great lengths to match their VLA2A's components.
Oh, what?
With an original 68 unit.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, they even modeled the sidechain and audio path tube stages.
Wow.
Why go to such detail?
Well, to capture the true essence of the original right.
Yeah.
All those tiny details, the way the tubes respond, the interaction between the components, they all contribute to the sonic fingerprint of the LA2A.
It's like they're trying to recreate the soul of the machine almost.
Exactly. It's not just the sound, but the feel of working with the hardware.
That's so cool. Next up is the Yuhi Satin.
Okay.
which Conahan praises for its versatility.
For good things.
Yeah, he mentions it can emulate everything from multi-track consoles to cassette decks.
Wow, that's a wide range.
What makes Satin so flexible?
Well, Satin isn't just emulating tape, it's emulating the whole signal path of a tape machine. You have control over things like bias tape speed, even the type of tape formulation used.
Wow. So it's like having a virtual tape lab at your fingertips.
Yeah.
That's awesome. He mentions being able to manipulate up to 8 instances simultaneously.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the creative possibilities there.
Oh, yeah. It's a powerhouse. You could subtly shape the tone of each instrument in your mix with slightly different tape saturation, then blend them all together for a really cohesive sonic landscape.
That's crazy.
It's like having a dedicated tape machine for each track.
Wow. Okay, so we've got tape saturation covered from a few angles now.
We do.
What about a plug-in that's steeped in some real music history?
Oh, I like where this is going.
You think about the Waves, J37?
Yeah, is that the one?
That's the one. This plug-in was developed in collaboration with Abbey Road Studios.
Wow!
And it's based on the actual tape machine.
Get out!
Used on countless classic recordings.
Our way.
Including the Beatles and Pink Floyd.
That's amazing!
Yeah, you're like touching a piece of music history with this one.
Yeah, I bet.
Conahan emphasizes the authenticity of the emulation. He points out the 3 different 60s EMI tape formulas. And the ability to change the tape speed.
Oh, wow.
So essentially you've got this palette of vintage tape sounds to choose from.
That's incredible.
Conahan points out that you can achieve these subtle but significant variations in tone and vibe with these different formulas and speeds.
Right.
It sounds like it's not just about recreating the sound of tape, but having the tools to kind of shape it to your needs.
Exactly. You're harnessing the character of those vintage tape machines and using them creatively in modern productions.
That's really cool.
Oh.
Okay, moving on. We have the D16 group Decimort 2, a bit crusher that seems to be popular for creating that old school hip-hop and lo-fi vibe.
Nice.
I've used bit crushing before,
Yeah.
but I'm curious about what sets Decimort 2 apart.
Well, Decimort 2 goes beyond simple bit crushing.
Okay.
It emulates the specific sonic quirks of vintage samplers.
Oh, wow.
From EMU and Akai.
Okay.
You know, the machines that were really instrumental in shaping the sound of early hip-hop?
That's cool. So it's like capturing a specific era of music production.
Exactly.
Conahan highlights its ability to recreate that gritty warmth that those classic samplers were known for.
Yeah. They had a very distinct sound.
Yeah, and while it excels at those classic lo-fi textures, it also gives you a lot of control over the bit crushing process.
Okay.
So you can really fine-tune the effect to achieve a wide range of sounds.
Interesting.
From subtle digital degradation to all-out sonic destruction.
Oh, wow.
So it's not just about recreating the past, but using those sonic characteristics as a springboard for something new.
Right, exactly.
All right, last one for this part of our deep dive.
Okay, hit me.
We have the Sound Toys Decapitator.
Decapitator, I like the name.
Conahan says it excels at adding distortion and saturation.
Okay.
What makes this one stand out from the crowd?
Decapitator is all about character.
Okay.
It offers 5 distinct modes, each modeled after a different analog circuit.
Okay.
So you can dial in anything from subtle warmth to full-on fuzz.
Nice. I've got to ask about that punish button.
Oh, yeah.
What exactly does that do?
Think of it as pushing the distortion to its limits.
Okay.
It intensifies the effect, adds more harmonics and grit.
Okay.
It's great for adding that extra edge to drums, guitars, vocals, even entire mixes.
So it's like a secret weapon for injecting some controlled chaos into your tracks.
Exactly. And the beauty of Decapitator is that it's just as comfortable adding subtle warmth as it is creating aggressive crunch. It all depends on how you use it.
Wow. That's a pretty impressive lineup of plugins so far.
It is.
From the nuanced warmth of tape saturation to the gritty punch of a bit crusher.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of sonic ground.
And we've only just scratched the surface.
Oh, really?
There are even more fascinating plugins waiting for us in the next part of this deep dive.
I can't wait.
I'm excited.
All right, we'll be back soon.
Looking forward to it. Welcome back. So we're jumping right back into this list.
Yeah, Conahan's next pick is the Audified U73B compressor. And I've always been a bit intimidated by compressors.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that are modeled after vintage hardware.
Yeah, they can be a bit tricky.
So what makes this one stand out?
What's interesting about the U73B is that it really embraces its coloration.
Okay.
Unlike a lot of modern compressors that aim for transparency.
Right.
The U73B adds a distinct character to the sound.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of those classic German broadcast compressors.
Yeah, okay. I see Conahan mentions it brings this precise loudness and clarity to a mix.
Yeah.
But with a vintage character.
Yeah.
So it's striking a balance there.
Right. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah, between control and color.
Exactly. And Conahan also points out that it's pretty easy to use.
Oh, okay.
Especially for people who are new to compression.
I'm always looking for plugins that can help me learn and experiment.
Yeah.
Without getting lost in a sea of knobs and settings.
For sure.
It can be overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
This one seems to fit the bill.
Yeah. It sounds like it's a great way to dip your toes into the world of analog-style compression.
Without getting overwhelmed.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. All right, back to tape.
More tape. I love it.
Conahan seems to be a big fan.
Yeah, he really likes his tape.
His next recommendation is the Yuhi Satin again.
Oh, satin.
I already touched on it earlier.
Right.
But he really dives deep into its versatility here.
Yeah, it's a really versatile plugin.
What is he talking about?
He's really impressed with its ability to mimic both high-end multi-track consoles and that lo-fi charm of cassette decks.
Wow.
It just shows you how each type of tape machine has its own unique sonic signature.
Yeah, for sure. He mentions being able to manipulate up to 8 instances simultaneously.
8 instances. Wow.
How would someone actually use that in a real-world production scenario?
Okay, so imagine subtly shaping the tone of each instrument in your mix.
Okay.
With a slightly different tape saturation.
Okay.
You could have a slightly warmer tape sound on your vocals, a more saturated tone on the drums, and then maybe like a subtle hint of cassette-like saturation on a synth line.
I like it.
And then you blend them all together to create this really cohesive sonic tapestry.
So it's like having a different tape machine for each part of your mix.
Yeah, it's like having a virtual tape machine for every element of your mix.
Yeah, that's wild.
It opens up some really interesting creative possibilities.
For sure. Okay, next. Conahan revisits the Black Rooster Audio VLA-2A.
Oh, he's back to that one.
He keeps coming back to this plugin.
It must be good.
It's making me wonder if there's something particularly special about it.
Well, Conahan seems to be really impressed by how closely it emulates the sound of a real LA2A.
Okay.
He specifically mentions they even modeled the sidechain and audio path tube stages.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Which, suggests they really went the extra mile to capture all those nuanced details.
Yeah, and we talked about the LA2A's smooth program-dependent compression earlier.
Right. It's super smooth.
How would you use it in a mix?
Oh, it's a go-to for vocals bass and any instrument where you want to even out the dynamics.
Okay.
Without sacrificing that natural feel of the performance.
Okay.
You can tame peaks and add presence without squashing the life out of the sound.
So it's about enhancing the natural dynamics rather than just leveling everything out.
Right, exactly. And that's why the LA2A is so revered.
Okay.
It adds warmth and character without sounding overly processed.
That's really cool.
Oh.
Okay, now here's a plugin that piqued my interest. The Waze J37.
Oh, yeah, the Abbey Road one?
That's the one. It was developed in collaboration with Abbey Road Studios.
Yeah, it's a classic.
And it emulates the very tape machine used on iconic recordings by the Beatles and Pink Floyd.
It's crazy.
Yeah, giving you a direct line to that legendary sound.
I remember seeing pictures of those massive tape machines at Abbey Road.
Yeah.
It's amazing that we can access that sound in our own studios now.
I know Conahan emphasizes the authenticity of the emulation. He points out the 3 different 60s EMI tape formulas and the ability to change the tape speed.
Right.
Essentially giving you a palette of vintage tape sounds to choose from.
It's like a time machine for tape sounds.
Yeah, I'm curious about those different tape formulas.
Yeah.
What kind of sonic variations can you expect from those?
Well, different tape formulations have unique characteristics.
Okay.
Some are known for their warmth and saturation, while others are prized for their clarity and headroom.
Interesting.
It's kind of like choosing different types of film stock for a camera.
Yeah.
Each one imparts its own flavor to the image.
Okay.
And the tape speed also affects the sound.
Oh, okay. How so?
Slower speeds generally produce more warmth and saturation, while faster speeds provide a cleaner, more pristine sound.
Oh, interesting. So you can really fine-tune the tape sound to match the vibe of your music.
Exactly. It's about having the flexibility to explore that full range of sonic possibilities that vintage tape recording had to offer.
Okay, back to the world of bit crushing. Conahan next mentions the D16 group Decimor 2.
Right.
We talked about how it emulates vintage samplers.
Yeah.
But is that all it does?
Well, while Decimart 2 excels at recreating those classic lo-fi textures, it's also incredibly versatile. It offers a wide range of controls for shaping the bit crushing effect, allowing you to go from subtle digital warmth or extreme sonic mangling.
Oh, wow. I've used bit crushing on drums and synths before.
Yeah.
What other instruments or sounds could benefit from this effect?
Oh, you could use it on vocals, guitars, sound effects, even orchestral instruments.
Wow.
It all depends on the level of grit and texture you're going for.
Really?
Yeah, Decimart 2 really lets you push the boundaries of what's possible with bit crushing.
Okay.
You know, turning it into more of a creative tool
rather
than just a nostalgic effect.
I like it. Okay, moving on, we have the Kiev Audio ADC-1, which Conahan describes as being inspired by classic compressors and limiters from the 50s and 60s.
Oh, wow, going way back.
Yeah, what sets this one apart from the other compressors we've discussed?
Well, what's intriguing about the ADC-1 is that it includes 4 different compression modes.
Okay.
Each one tailored to a specific application.
Interesting.
You can use it for subtle leveling, adding punch, or even achieving, like, aggressive squashing.
Wow, so it's pretty versatile.
Yeah, it's a real all-rounder.
Conahan mentions it's a great plug-in for anyone looking to explore the world of vintage-inspired compression.
Yeah.
What makes it a good starting point?
Well, its versatility makes it a great all-rounder. You can use it on individual tracks, subgroups, even the entire mix.
Okay.
It's a fantastic tool for learning how different compression styles can shape your sound.
So it's like a good learning tool as well.
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Next up is a free plugin that caught my eye.
Oh, free plugins are always good.
I know. The Klanghelm MJ-UC-JR.
Okay.
I'm always on the lookout for high-quality free plugins.
Yeah, who isn't?
And this one seems to be a gem.
Conan seems to think so, too.
Yeah, what does he say about it?
He raves about its ability to deliver both subtle warmth and more aggressive compression, making it a versatile tool for a variety of mixing tasks.
I like it. It's based on the variable mu compressor design.
Okay.
Can you explain what that means and why it's significant?
So, well, this plugin takes inspiration from British FET compressors of the late 60s.
Okay.
Known for their punchy, aggressive character.
Okay.
Conahan highlights its ability to handle transients really effectively, making it ideal for drums and guitars.
What are transients and why is it important for a compressor to handle them well?
So transients are the initial fast attacks of a sound, like the hit of a snare drum or the pluck of a guitar string. A compressor that can handle transients well will preserve their impact and definition. And it'll prevent them from sounding squashed or lifeless.
Oh, okay. So it's about adding punch and energy without sacrificing clarity.
Right. And Complex does that exceptionally well.
Nice.
It adds a certain bite and aggression that can really make drums and guitars pop out of a mix.
All right. Now we're moving into the realm of EQ. With the Pulsar Audio, Pulsar Massive. Conahan describes it as an emulation of the renowned Manley Massive Passive EQ.
Oh, wow, the Massive Passive.
Yeah, which is a pretty legendary piece of gear.
Yeah, especially in the mastering world.
So what's the deal with this EQ?
Well, the Manley Massive Passive is known for its incredibly smooth musical curves. And its ability to add warmth and presence to a track without any harshness.
So it's very subtle.
Yeah, it's a favorite among mastering engineers for its ability to subtly enhance the overall sound of a mix.
Conahan specifically calls out the Pulsar Massive's fully parallel topology, which processes frequency bands independently.
Right.
What difference does that make compared to a typical EQ?
So most digital EQs process audio in a serial fashion, meaning each frequency band affects the next in line. The parallel processing in Pulsar Massive allows each band to be treated separately. And that results in a smoother, more natural sound. That's closer to how analog EQs behave.
So it's about mimicking the sonic characteristics of the original hardware.
Exactly. And that attention to detail is what sets apart the truly great analog emulations.
Cool. Okay, next up we have a plugin that seems to be a bit of a Swiss Army knife.
Okay, let's hear it.
The Tone Empire Goliath V2.
Goliath. Okay.
What exactly does this one do?
Well, it combines saturation dynamics processing and EQ into a single plugin, making it a very versatile tool for adding warmth, punch, and character to individual tracks, or even entire mixes.
Conahan mentions 4 analog modeled processing chains.
Right.
What does that mean in practical terms?
Essentially, you have 4 different flavors of saturation and processing to choose from.
Okay.
Each chain emulates a specific type of analog circuitry,
Okay.
allowing you to dial in a wide range of tones from subtle warmth to aggressive grit.
So it's like having a mini studio's worth of processing in one plugin.
Exactly. It's great for adding a touch of analog vibe to your tracks without having to chain multiple plugins together.
That's awesome. All right, cassette tapes.
Oh, yeah.
Conahan takes us back to the 80s.
Back to the future.
With the Kill 'Em Audio tape cassette, too.
Tape cassette, too.
I have to admit I have a soft spot for that lo-fi cassette sound.
Oh, yeah, me too. It's so nostalgic.
What makes this plugin stand out from other tape emulations?
Well, Tape Cassette 2 goes beyond simply mimicking the sound of a cassette tape.
Okay.
It really dives deep into those technical nuances of tape saturation.
Okay, like what?
Things like hysteresis and wow and flutter.
Those terms sound pretty technical. Can you break them down for me?
So hysteresis refers to the way magnetic tape responds to changes in magnetization.
Okay.
And that contributes to the unique saturation and compression characteristics of tape.
Okay.
Wow. And flutter, on the other hand, are those subtle pitch variations
Oh,
that
yeah.
you often hear on cassette tapes.
Yeah, like that warbling sound.
Exactly. So it's about capturing those imperfections that give cassette tapes their character.
I see. And those imperfections were once considered flaws.
I know, right?
Now they're sought after.
Exactly. It's all about that warmth and nostalgic vibe.
Okay, cool. Tone Empire's back on the list with the Loch Ness plugin.
Loch Ness. Interesting.
Conahan seems to think this one's a secret weapon for drums.
Oh, really? For drums specifically?
Yeah. What's so special about it?
Well, it's designed specifically for drums and percussion.
Okay.
Allowing you to bring out the punch power and color of your rhythmic tracks.
I like it.
Conahan compares its smash function to the legendary Devil Lock compressor, which is known for its extreme compression and its ability to create, like, heavily distorted drum sounds.
So it's not for the faint of heart.
No, it's definitely a plugin that can add some serious attitude to your drums.
I like it. Next, we have another free plugin.
Another free one.
No, the Melamuse EQ1A Equalizer.
Okay.
Free plugins are always a good thing.
You can't go wrong with free.
So what makes this one worth checking out?
Well, Conahan praises its smooth, analog-modeled EQ curves, suggesting that it delivers a very musical and natural-sounding equalization.
Okay.
He specifically mentions the high-pass filter, the sweepable shelf filters, and the sweepable peak filters as being particularly useful for shaping the tone of your audio.
Sounds like a solid addition to any producer's toolkit.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Especially considering it's free.
Especially considering it's free. Okay, finally we come to the last plugin on Conahan's list for this part of our deep dive.
Okay, hit me.
The Sound Toys Decapitator again.
Decapitator round 2.
We already touched on this one earlier.
Right.
But Conahan seems to have more to say about it.
He does. He's a fan.
What else does he say?
Well, he seems to be a big fan of its versatility.
Okay.
He reminds us of its 5 unique modes,
each
offering a distinct flavor of distortion.
Okay.
From subtle warmth to full-on fuzz.
And he mentions the punish button again.
Of course he does. Gotta love the punish button.
Which really pushes the effect to its limit.
Takes it to the extreme.
So I'm curious about those different modes.
Yeah.
Can you give me some examples of how they might be used in a mix?
Sure. Each mode is inspired by a different type of analog circuitry. So, for example, you might use the E mode for a smooth tape-like saturation on vocals.
Oh, okay.
The A mode for adding grit and bite to a guitar track.
Okay.
And then maybe the N mode for a more aggressive fuzz-like distortion on a synth.
Oh, wow.
And then, of course, you've got the punish button, which can be used to push any of these modes even further.
Okay.
You know, creating those more extreme and experimental effects.
So it's really about having a palette of distortion options at your fingertips.
Exactly. You can tailor the sound to fit your specific needs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We've covered a lot of ground in this part of our deep dive.
We have.
From compressors and EQs to tape emulators and distortion units.
It's been a journey.
We've explored a wide range of analog emulations that can bring warmth, character, and a touch of magic to our digital productions.
And there's even more to discover.
Oh, really?
As we move into the final part of our deep dive,
okay,
where we'll delve into Conahan's concluding thoughts and explore some of the broader implications of these plugins for modern music production.
I can't wait.
It's going to be good.
All right, so we're back for the final part of our analog emulation plugin deep dive.
I'm ready to wrap this up.
Me too. What are Conahan's final thoughts in the article?
Well, he reminds us that we've really only scratched the surface of this whole world of plugins.
Yeah, there are a ton of them out there.
He says he didn't even have time to touch on some key categories like channel strip plugins.
Oh, yeah, I was wondering about those.
They're pretty cool.
What are they all about?
Well, think of them as the virtual equivalent of a classic mixing console channel strip.
Okay.
They typically combine a preamp EQ compressor and sometimes even additional effects.
Like what?
Like saturation or tape emulation.
Okay.
All in one convenient package.
So you're essentially getting a whole chain of analog-inspired processing in one plugin.
It's a great way to streamline your workflow.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And get a cohesive analog sound across multiple tracks.
And there are a lot of different ones out there, right?
Oh, tons! Each with their own unique flavor and character.
Conahan also mentions a few plugin developers he didn't have room to include in his top 18.
Oh, really?
Like Analog Obsession and Baby Audio.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of them.
It just goes to show how much variety there is in the plugin world these days.
It's incredible. There's so much to explore.
Yeah, it's really up to each producer to kind of explore and find what works best for them.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to plugins.
So what's the main thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that analog emulation plugins aren't just about nostalgia.
Okay.
They're powerful, creative tools.
Yeah.
That can really help you enhance and shape your sound in unique ways.
It's like having a whole new set of colors to paint with.
Exactly. Whether you're seeking the warmth of tape, the punch of a vintage compressor, or the grit of a bit crusher.
There's a plugin out there for everyone.
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to experiment and find the tools that resonate with your own musical vision.
Well said. I think that's a great note to end on.
Yeah, I think so too.
Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into analog emulation plugins.
It's been a pleasure.
I hope everyone listening has a better understanding of what these plugins can bring to their productions.
Me too.
And until next time, keep creating and keep exploring the sonic landscape.